Hi, everybody. My name is Sean McPherson, and this is my presentation on professional teaching standards. In this presentation, we are going to draw connections between the InTask and my specialized professional association, which is in mathematics. Away we go. After this presentation, you will be able to connect themes between the InTasks and the NCTM standards. We will learn what the NCTM is in the next slide. You'll be able to understand why content knowledge, learning environment, collaboration, data-driven decision-making, and professional learning is essential for all teachers and specifically math teachers. And you'll be able to learn from scholarly sources that I've included on here on the importance of content knowledge and learning environment. Okay, so the InTask is the Interstate Teacher Assessment and Support Consortium. It is broken into 4 different parts, 4 sections: the learner and learning, content knowledge, instructional practice, and professional responsibility. And it has different standards within these sections. Meanwhile, my specialized professional association, as potentially an aspiring math teacher, is the NCTM, the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics. The NCTM advocates for high-quality mathematics teaching and leading for each and every student. That's its mission statement. Okay, so the first theme that both of these organizations talked about was content knowledge. So the InTask had a standard number 5. Content knowledge: teachers must have a deep and flexible understanding of content areas in order to effectively teach information to students, which is an obvious one, and to be able to address meaningful issues to assure learner mastery, so basically helping students with any problems that they have along the way, and making content knowledge relevant by connecting it to real-world problems. So oftentimes students can wonder, why does math matter? When am I going to be using this in my life? And it's a teacher's responsibility to be able to let them know that it is important, and that can help with motivation. Meanwhile, the NCTM talked about content knowledge in the context of demonstrating and applying knowledge of major mathematical topics within and among mathematical content domains. Drawing connections between mathematical subjects. So, in your algebra class, being able to learn how this is going to be incorporated in more advanced class like statistics, calculus, geometry, and drawing those connections, and then demonstrating and applying knowledge in various different contexts as well. Okay, so why does content knowledge matter? In an article called Content Knowledge for Teachers, What Makes It Special, 3 different authors talked about how simply understanding the basics of the subject isn't enough. Simply, as a teacher, just knowing the basics of what you teach and that's it isn't going to be enough as a math teacher, because teachers need to be prepared when they're grading a test. Students need to show their work. Teachers need to make sense of what's going on with that student. How did they get to where they got on a certain problem or a certain example? And teachers really need to know need to master the subjects in order to do well with it and be an effective teacher. And then also choosing powerful ways to represent the subject. Again, those real world problems, being able to connect it to real world problems makes a good teacher. Okay, moving forward. Learning environment is another key theme that both of these organizations talked about. In the InTasks, it basically stated that teachers should create learning environments that support individual and collaborative learning, so both of those ways, and then encouraging positive social interaction, active engagement in learning, and self-motivation. So basically making the classroom a supportive and fun and welcoming place for each and every student. Meanwhile, the NCTM, standard number 4, mathematical learning environment, creating appropriate, organized, and challenging learning opportunities, including culturally relevant perspectives to motivate and engage students. So just being that fun teacher, relating it to not only real world stuff, but also what's going on in the world, making it relevant to high school students. What are they interested in? That can be, something that a fun and effective teacher does. And then also demonstrating a positive disposition towards mathematical processes and learning. So being fun, being energetic, being passionate about what you teach, that can really spread to students and help them have a better experience in their math classes. Okay, why does learning environment matter? In chapter 13 of the Handbook of Motivation at School, they talked about how education is about properly designing learning environments that optimize learning and motivation, and that the learning environment is really the number one thing that can have ripple effects for the entire educational system. If the learning environment changes, for example, if they go online or if they even start using computers in classes and incorporate technology, then that changes the way teachers communicate with students, give assignments to students. It changes the way policymakers look at schools. It changes the way the public perceives schools and their expectations for schools. It changes the way kids need to prepare. Really, the learning environment has ripple effects for the entire educational system and is very important. Okay, another key theme that both of these organizations talked about in these documents is collaboration. So the InTask states that collaboration among teachers improves practice. Teachers should not be isolated. So teachers should work with other teachers to improve learning and to improve their craft of teaching. Teachers should collaborate with learners, families, colleagues, and community members. So teachers should be working with everyone to be the best teacher possible. And cross-disciplinary skills such as communication, problem solving, collaboration, all of those things, all those life skills should be incorporated in school, excuse me. And then meanwhile, the NCTM stated on the topic of collaboration that effective teachers recognize that learning is often collaborative and that teachers should engage in collaborative learning to improve practice. And we've learned about that in this class. Collaborative learning can be really, really positive because students can learn other perspectives and be able to gauge one another and gain differing perspectives, which can be really beneficial. Okay, moving forward, data-driven decision making. Types of data can be learner demographics, which can be just information on students. It can be homework assignments. It can be background info, such as past grades or student reports. It could be tests. It could be external tests. It could be a lot of different things. But teachers need to be prepared to make data-driven decisions at varied levels of assessment. And data should be used to identify learning needs and guide planning. So teachers should lean on this data to best accommodate to their students. And meanwhile, the NCTM states that collecting assessment evidence to determine how student math proficiencies have improved is very important as a math teacher, and that utilizing formative and summative assessments to inform instruction is also vital as a math instructor. Okay, finally, professional expectations. This is just the InTask, but the InTask talked about how professional expectations should be improving practice. Teachers should engage in ongoing learning opportunities, meaningful and appropriate learning experiences, and self-assessment and problem-solving strategy to reflect on his or her practice. So being able to reflect, being able to improve at their craft every single day, and also just improving that content knowledge can help a teacher in a big way, like we talked about earlier. And then advancing the profession, the InTask talks about how there's an obligation to investigate and consider new ideas when it comes to teaching whatever the subject may be, and that leadership entails taking a keen sense of ethical responsibility to advance the profession. So teaching's not only about teaching, but it's also about making teaching better in 5 years, better in 10 years, and advancing the profession for future teachers and for future students, more importantly. Okay, reflecting on what we've learned in this presentation, several of the same teaching standards exist between the InTask and the National Council of Teachers and Mathematics. They expect the same things, and they have a lot of the same standards for teachers. Both organizations preach the importance of content knowledge, learning environment, collaboration, data-driven decision-making, and professional learning. And finally, scholarly data proves why mathematics teachers must possess a grand understanding of the subject and why the learning environment can have ripple effects in education. That's it for my presentation. I hope that this was beneficial, and thank you so much for your time.